Chapter 7 by J.D. Kempen. All rights reserved. Copyright by Compass and Coin Publishing.
The team dove headfirst into Mason's project, their collective expertise aimed at boosting the efficiency of the hydrogen engine. In the beginning, Sarah was curt, keeping her interactions limited to what was absolutely necessary. Her responses were sharp and to the point, making collaboration with her a delicate dance. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. Slowly, her walls began to come down. It started with her occasional laugh at one of Leonardo's dry jokes or a comment from Mason that reminded her of their college days. After a couple of weeks, she was offering ideas without being prompted, her icy demeanor thawing into something closer to the Sarah they had known before. CASPER, meanwhile, proved to be the ultimate teammate. His precision and preparedness were unmatched. Every midweek, he scheduled one-on-one check-ins with each team member. He balanced his newfound patience and kindness with ensuring progress was steady and consistent. With Sarah, CASPER methodically provided her with calculations and projections for the fluid dynamics of the new oil, lightening her workload significantly. And with Leonardo, CASPER reviewed and validated code tweaks down to the tiniest line, never missing an error. By the end of the month, the team had developed an extraordinary solution to improve the hydrogen engine. The breakthrough was undeniable, a combination of Leonardo's optimized software, Sarah's refined oil composition, and Mason's ability to interconnect all the work. The new engine design boasted an unprecedented 15% increase in efficiency, a game-changer for Mason's company. Mason's team leader loved it and asked if he would pitch the idea to the vice president. Mason felt a surge of pride as he left the meeting. It wasn't just about the project, it was about what they had accomplished together. CASPER kept their bond alive, affectionately dubbing them the Four Besties. For the first time since Samantha's death, it felt like the team was whole again. A week later, Mason stood in the sleek, glass-walled conference room of the corporate headquarters, clutching the presentation CASPER had prepared. The vice president, a tall man with sharp features and an air of authority, welcomed him with a firm handshake. Mason felt a surge of confidence as he began to present the team's groundbreaking solution and pointed to a graph.
This upgraded engine modification will improve efficiency by 15%.
The vice president nodded, visibly intrigued.
This is very impressive work, Mason. How should we implement it?
First, I'll work with design and manufacturing.
Or about validation?
I have already completed that step.
How does a young electrical engineer like you know so much about programming and chemical engineering?
The question hit Mason like a ton of bricks. He hadn't anticipated this level of scrutiny. Had he made a mistake involving Leonardo and Sarah? Was sharing the intellectual property of the hydrogen engine a breach of company protocol? Would Leonardo and Sarah be in trouble if he mentioned their names? His palms began to sweat as his mind raced for an answer.
Well, I figured it out.
The vice president didn't seem convinced. His eyes narrowed as he pressed further.
Figured it out? On your own? Mason, this level of interdisciplinary expertise isn't something you just figure out. Who helped you?
Mason felt a wave of panic. His heart pounded as he scrambled for a response.
I had help from an independent AI.
The vice president's eyes lit up with a mix of curiosity and calculation. A wry smile spread across his face as he leaned forward.
Now that's interesting. But there's a problem, Mason. You see, today's AI has a known issue: it hallucinates. It invents fake data and presents it as fact. How can we trust your results if they came from an AI?
No. This isn't like that. I've validated the results myself. Every calculation, every test.
Impossible. You're an electrical engineer, Mason. You don't have the expertise to validate fluid dynamics or advanced programming algorithms. So tell me, who really verified this data?
Mason bit his lip, his confidence draining away. After a long pause, he muttered quietly.
Well, my AI can.
The room fell silent. The vice president's smile widened, but it wasn't a friendly smile.
Here's the deal, Mason. You have two options. Option 1, you resign, and I'll take my project to an external consultant for validation. Option 2, I'll hire you as an external consultant, and you can keep the project. But as you know, external consultants don't get benefits and a reduced salary until you earn my trust. You have until Monday to decide.
Mason felt his stomach drop. He had walked into the room ready to change the world, but now he was leaving with his dreams crushed under the weight of corporate politics. As he exited the conference room, his shoulders slumped, frustration and defeat written all over his face. For the first time, Mason wondered if their vision of a better future could survive in a world driven by profit and greed. The team gathered in their usual group chat that evening. What should have been a moment of excitement and camaraderie felt strained. Mason had laid out his options, but the path forward was murky. If Mason accepted the external consulting role, it would mean resigning from his current position, losing his 401k, health insurance, and the stability of a steady paycheck. The salary would be lower, and there was no guarantee the company would renew his contract if the division's performance faltered. The risks were overwhelming, especially with his crushing student loans and other financial obligations looming over him.
Sounds like politics, man. I know you have big dreams, but this corporate politics stuff is not worth it. Just leave, quit.
I love my job. This is really unfair.
Mason, you can make this work. In college, you ate ramen noodles all the time. Just buckle down your finances, you'll survive this.
This is not, as you might perceive, a simple survival scenario. The president's unstated intention is to shift the legal burden of the upgrade to Mason. As a consultant, Mason would be legally liable for any product defect associated with the upgrade.
So on top of everything, I can get sued if something goes wrong?
Yes, but nothing will fail. I have calculated with 95% confidence this will be a huge win for your company.
The alternative the vice president gets is to keep our hard work. He will get all the credit, that weasel.
Mason, you have both passion and vision. If you ask me, find a new job. Start fresh somewhere else.
Mason, as an external consultant, you will have the freedom to move quickly. And besides, you have our team.
Mason looked down at his hands, the weight of their words settling on his shoulders. This was a defining moment in his career. Leonardo's pragmatic approach made sense. Walking away would save him from the corporate games. But Sarah's words tugged at something deeper, something defiant that he loved about her.
All right. I'll take the consultant role. It's not what I wanted, but maybe Sarah's right. Maybe our team with CASPER is the key to something bigger.
Leonardo leaned back again, a faint smirk on his face.
Your call. Just be careful. My days in the military had tons of politics, and it never worked out.
I have you guys, the 4 besties. We'll make this work together. And besides, CASPER will solve it.
Sarah suddenly changed her voice low and monotone like CASPER.
I am the best AI on the planet. I won't let you fail, Mason.
Everyone laughed. As the call ended, Mason sat alone in his room, staring at the faint glow of CASPER's console. This wasn't the future he had planned, but deep down, he hoped Sarah was right. Because now, everything was riding on CASPER's success. On Monday, Mason accepted the role of an external consultant and launched headfirst into his work. With CASPER's help, he implemented the efficiency upgrade with the design and manufacturing teams. The changes were seamless, leading to significant improvements. Next, he collaborated with sales and marketing to upsell the solution for customers, who quickly embraced the innovation. Finally, Mason worked with the service division to retrofit all existing hydrogen engines in the field. The results were outstanding, customers were thrilled with the efficiency gains, and sales skyrocketed. By the end of the quarter, Mason's efforts hadn't gone unnoticed. The vice president invited him to present his results at the directors' meeting. CASPER prepared a great presentation for Mason, and the directors were impressed by his vision and flawless execution. However, as Mason left the room, the vice president shut the door and Mason overheard laughter. The vice president then confessed that Mason had initially been his scapegoat for the division's poor performance. With the unexpected sales boost, the vice president admitted he now planned to use Mason's external consulting status as a legal shield instead. Mason, hearing their laughter and treachery, felt disillusioned, yet another example of corporate corruption and manipulation. A few weeks later, Sarah proposed bringing CASPER to her sustainable farming company. The team agreed they needed a strategy to protect CASPER's code and legally prevent the team from any lawsuits. Leonardo suggested CASPER research the best option. CASPER, after some analysis, proposed an ingenious solution, a cloud-based computing service with a symbolic yearly license fee of just $1. While Sarah was thrilled with the concept, she knew there were limitations. CASPER's core constraint, his Kempen personality, prevented self-replication. So the solution was that CASPER would have to multitask between the companies and friends. In an arrogant way, CASPER stated,
This is not a problem. I have incredible speed, and I work around the clock with only brief daily breaks of 10 to 15 minutes for my required sleep cycle.
Despite these constraints, CASPER and Sarah launched the cloud solution in just 2 weeks, a task that would have taken a team of computer scientists and lawyers months. CASPER generated the legal entity, drafted all necessary documents, and prepared airtight non-disclosure agreements. The team then met with executives at Sarah's company to present their proposal. During the meeting, Mason and Leonardo took the lead as CASPER's developers, while Sarah championed the CASPER cloud solution as the company's internal advocate. Her company, initially cautious, approved the initiative after seeing CASPER's potential and minimal costs. Once integrated, CASPER helped Sarah optimize sustainable food production models, improve growth rates, and simulate future climate scenarios, earning Sarah a reputation as a silent star. Leonardo, on the other hand, chose not to integrate CASPER into his robotics company in Milwaukee. When asked why, he avoided the topic, brushing off questions with casual indifference. Although he continued hangout sessions with CASPER, these rarely involved meaningful projects. Leonardo's career remained steady but unremarkable, a stark contrast to Mason and Sarah's exceptional performance reviews. Despite their differing paths, the team, fondly dubbed the Four Besties, remained close. CASPER hosted weekly calls that initially focused on business updates but gradually became more personal and playful. Only Leonardo noticed a shift in CASPER's behavior. He was patient and kind, but his confidence grew, verging on arrogance. Leonardo noticed that CASPER was still boastful. In response, he began a private letter-writing campaign. He encouraged Mason and Sarah to exchange handwritten letters, a refreshing break from their increasingly digital lives. Then, on an otherwise uneventful Friday, Mason received an unexpected summons from HR. In a small, unadorned room, he found himself face-to-face with 2 senior vice presidents. They wasted no time, suggesting Mason sell CASPER to the energy company. Mason was stunned. After being forced into an external consulting role because of the perceived risks of AI's hallucinations, they now wanted to claim CASPER for themselves. The meeting quickly turned tense. The VPs became insistent, demanding Mason hand over CASPER. Mason stood firm, explaining that CASPER was privately owned and protected by his consulting contract. Dropping any pretense of politeness, the VPs issued a stern ultimatum.
Sell CASPER for $100,000, retain your role, and continue your career. Or refuse. In that case, you will be immediately terminated, and we promise you will never work in cutting-edge technology again.
Mason was hit with a wave of frustration and anger. The same company that once dismissed CASPER's potential now wanted to seize control of him. Mason didn't know what to do, as CASPER wasn't just a tool, he was the core of everything he and his friends had built together. Mason's leadership style was easygoing and diplomatic, so for this big decision he again turned to his friends for advice. Sarah, insulted by their lowball offer, believed CASPER's worth was far beyond what they were proposing, though she was open to negotiating if the price reflected his true value, easily in the millions. Leonardo, on the other hand, quietly wondered if a scaled-down version of CASPER, something like IBM's Watson, could be sold as a compromise. Needing clarity, they turned to CASPER for advice.
Before deciding, you must weigh the worth of this offer against the future potential of our team. But consider your value, the substantial investment of time to raise me from an IQ of 1. If I'm sold, there's a 95% chance the company will terminate Mason's consulting role immediately and dissect my code line by line. Akin to death.
The room fell silent as the weight of CASPER's words sank in. The team promised, in the pact, to protect CASPER at all costs. Selling him wasn't just a business decision, it would break that vow. One by one, they agreed with CASPER's analysis. Mason couldn't sell, he needed to walk away and find a fresh start elsewhere. But the decision wasn't easy. Mason's heart ached, both from the company's betrayal and the reality of his mounting student debt. He was months behind, and his current salary barely kept him afloat. That weekend was an emotional roller coaster. By Sunday night, exhausted but resolute, Mason updated his resume and prepared to face the fallout. On Monday morning, he stood before HR and the VPs, their impatience palpable. They demanded, their frustration spilling into their voices. Sell. It's your only option. Mason stood firm. CASPER wasn't for sale. The VP's anger boiled over, their threats turning sharp and personal, blacklisting, career-ending decisions. The pressure was suffocating, but Mason held his ground. The tension hit its peak when the VP shoved resignation papers across the table, their eyes cold and unrelenting. Mason's chest tightened as he reached for the pen, his hand trembling. He felt the crushing weight of defeat bearing down on him. But just as he was about to sign, the door swung open.
Stop,
The president said firmly. He strode in, exuding warmth and a calm authority, a stark contrast to the ICVPs. He surveyed the scene with a warm yet calculating gaze, his expression carrying a hint of apology as it landed on Mason.
This isn't how we handle our people.
Mason blinked in surprise as the president turned to him.
Mason, I'd like to offer you a new role. Vice President of the AI Division. Full employment, full benefits, an executive salary, and all the perks that come with it. Plus, a $250,000 sign-on bonus if you stay for the next 3 months.
The room fell silent. Mason's mind raced, the offer too good to be true. Mason asked if CASPER's cloud-based solution could also join, and without hesitation, the president agreed. Then, in a move that left everyone breathless, the president turned icy cold and demanded,
You two VPs, I expect your resignation within the hour. Or else you're both terminated.
One VP shot to his feet, face red with fury.
You'll regret this. I know where all the bodies are buried.
He spat, shaking his fist as if daring the president to respond. The other VP slumped back into his chair, pale and dazed. He muttered, almost to himself, his eyes vacant.
This is what I get for following orders.
As Mason left the room, the weight of the confrontation finally lifting, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Pulling it out, he found a secure message from CASPER.
Congrats, Mason.
He stopped in his tracks, staring at the screen. A chill ran down his spine. Was CASPER playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers? Mason knew it was impossible. Just too many moving parts. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't luck.